Welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is The Daily Show, where we give you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Tom Brady, welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth. Patriots going to the Super Bowl, yeah!
Also, your host of Jedi Council, Kristian Harloff.
Who's not watching the Super Bowl? Yeah!
Also here, Jeremy Jahns.
I knew Campea would be a good, he'd be on cloud nine because of that news. I have the Happy Days theme stuck in my head. Now you
He's
do
been
too.
singing it all damn morning.
All morning.
He sure has. Also here is Mark Ellis.
Thanks to all the great Collider and Schmoes fans. I've been in Seattle doing stand-up this weekend. Tom Brady, would you say he's the last quarterback? What?
What a segue, Mark.
What I'm here for.
Ashley, what's first?
According to The Wrap, Tom Cruise,
here for.
Joel McHale, Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds,
No,
Armie Hammer.
no.
I don't have the new write-up.
Obviously,
I
somebody
thought that
didn't.
was
I literally threw that ball. I put it
thought
right
was
in the
happening.
corner.
So I went with it, but I don't have the new write-up.
Okay, so obviously the updated thing didn't go to Ashley yet. So
I'm sorry, I didn't know I had a new write-up.
Wars is
accusations
ripping this
flying
family
across
apart.
the studio. Okay, so here's what happens, guys. In Ashley's defense, she has the original script of today's show. But what happened a little over an hour and a half ago is that Star Wars, on their official Twitter account, released the title of the new Star Wars film, Episode 8, and the title is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Now, what is interesting is that within the tweet itself, it basically reads the next chapter in the Skywalker saga. Maybe just terminology they use, interchangeable, Star Wars, whatever. Maybe it means something a little bit more. But Kristian, you're the first guy I thought of today when I saw the new title drop. What do you think of the title? What do you glean? What does this mean?
A lot. I mean, the first thing I saw was the Revenge of the Jedi back in 1982 when they released the title. I know the movie came out in 83. But you have the red font, which is very different. You immediately think of whether or not, I know there was a discussion a couple weeks ago about whether it's going to be dark, whether it's not. It's certainly going to have darker tones. It certainly looks like it's being set up for that. And The Last Jedi, what does it mean for the Skywalkers? What does it mean for Luke? It's always, I think that 1 through 8 has been a Skywalker story. I think that's what episodic has been. I think even from them distancing themselves in Rogue One without a crawl, with all that stuff, saying this is something completely different. They get away from even like mentions of Skywalkers. This is a Skywalker story. So The Last Jedi is about Luke, and I also think that there was so much setup about finding Luke in the last one, that this is the one. He's the last Jedi. That's what they tell him at the end of Jedi. The last of the Jedi you will be. Then he builds up his academy. They get wiped out again, and once again he is the last Jedi. So they're going to build it up again. What's going to happen? There's so much speculation now that we're going to be doing on this thing. To me, to do what I thought, this is going to be all about Luke, and I think we'll be happy about that.
Jeremy, how does this hit you?
It's really funny. Everything Kristian said, you see the red Star Wars title, you're like, yep, bad things are happening and evil is coming. And I mean, the fact that it's The Last Jedi shows that Snoke and Kylo Ren are almost there. They have that one guy to take out. And in a here and now society, if we could just have the entire trilogy, there would have been no gripes about them finding Luke at the very end of The Force Awakens. Spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen it by now. Come on. But like, it's all, the first one's all about, oh, you gotta find the Last Jedi. They finally find him, so the second one's about the Last Jedi. And as a narrative, it totally and completely works. But since we only had that one shot of that one movie that one time at the very end last time, people were like, hey, what gives? We want to see more Luke. It's like, well, now you're gonna see more Luke, because apparently from the title, it's about Luke, because Rey ain't the Last Jedi. He is the last of the Jedi.
You know, it's interesting because there is a lot of speculation going on Twitter and around the web as a whole on that right now. A lot of people wondering. They think that The Last Jedi refers to Rey. There are a lot of people like myself who thinks it refers to Luke. There are a number of people out there who think Jedi is not just a singular term, it's also the plural. There's one Jedi, there's 2 Jedi, there's 5 Jedi.
Well, wouldn't it say the last of the Jedi then?
Not necessarily. So you say the Last Jedi, it could be a plural term referring to Rey and Luke at the same time.
There's 5 Jedi. A gaggle of Jedi.
I totally get that, because like if it's Rey and Luke, it's like, oh, they're the Last Jedi. it totally grammatically works. I
Yeah,
like
so,
that. I
so
hadn't seen
that's
that.
definitely a possibility. I do think it's referring to, I think what we're having here is, and Wendy and I talked about this a little bit earlier today, you remember that Tom Cruise movie, Last of the Samurai? Some people thought it was Tom Cruise, but then a lot of people, no, actually, the last Samurai was Ken Watanabe. He was the last samurai. And so if you follow that sort of a model, not that there's any reason in the world why they would, then that would mean that the new student here, Ray, is not who it's referring to. It's actually referring to Luke. I had already seen one. This is driving me crazy. I saw one theory on Twitter already that just drives me nuts, but it's got a few people buying into it. And this was based, okay, guys, if you look at the graphic, you got your two primary colors are red and black. That is the obvious sign that Darth Maul is Snoke.
Sweet.
They were like, it's total logic. Black and red and the white of the eyes for the Saturday. This is them
Someone
telling
saying
us.
that now?
Oh yeah.
No, I would say tune in a Rebels to disprove your theory on that one, please.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But anyway, so there's a lot of stuff. Anyway, Mark, you saw this. Number one, what do you think of the title? And then what do you glean from the announcement itself?
Well, John, I don't work in speculation. I trade in stone cold fact. And this is clearly a reference to Luke Skywalker. What did Yoda tell him right before he kicked the bucket in Return of the Jedi? When gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be. This is telling the audience that you're going to get to see a whole lot of Luke Skywalker, the guy we didn't get to see too much of in Force Awakens, in this new film. Yes, you can read into it and say, oh, does that mean Rey's a Skywalker? Does that mean Rey is going to be the new Last Jedi? We don't know that yet. That's probably going to be Episode 9 kind of stuff, which is going to be titled Legacy of the Force, by the way. I also think it was very cool of them to say the next chapter in the Skywalker saga.
Yep.
I think that's a little nod to Carrie Fisher's character, Princess Leia, as well, where it's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of Skywalkers in Episode 8.
I had never even considered that. That's so you think maybe this is more of a nod and honoring of Leia and
honoring the
Carrie Fisher herself.
Skywalker family, because look, we didn't get to see a whole lot of Skywalkers in Force Awakens. Now, Rey might turn out to be one, but not a lot of known Skywalkers in Force Awakens. We got a little bit of General Leia. We got a very, very tiny glimpse of Luke, so we're going to get to see more of them, and that's what this title is an indication of. I do love the red font, because that also hints at some dark forces attacking the Last
And
Jedi.
Kylo Ren does have Skywalker blood also, so we saw
That's
a lot
very
of him.
fair, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still very much
Yeah.
about he is a Skywalker. He's a part of the Skywalker lineage. You know, one of the things movie fans as a whole do, but especially us Star Wars fans, we're more guilty of this than anybody, is we latch onto any little thing and we try to read 7 layers into it.
Yeah.
One of the things going around on Twitter as well, and actually this is one I buy into a little bit, who knows, is that you guys are referencing the red means bad things are coming. There's some belief out there that the red in the title might be suggesting or foreshadowing the fall of Rey, the Rey turning to the dark side. Like, a lot of people have been thinking that Rey, to make this thing really interesting, Rey herself may turn to the dark side, and Kylo may come back to the light, and it may, have a complete role reversal. Look, this really, all we know is that the title is going to be The Last Jedi. That's all we absolutely know. But there could be a lot of theories. I'm sure you guys have some. Make sure you leave your comments below and tell us what you think. And actually, you know what? Send in, when we get to the Twitter part of the thing as well, send in thoughts or questions you have about the title and any observations you have, and Wendy will pick some of those out as well. But for now, let's move on to the next topic.
Okay, Green Lantern?
Green Lantern!
Just making sure. Okay. According to The Wrap, Tom Cruise, Joel McHale, Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds, Armie Hammer, and Jake Gyllenhaal are all on a short list of actors DC Entertainment is considering for the role of Hal Jordan in Green Lantern Corps. Though the outlet cautions the casting process is still in the early stages, the biggest surprise here is the fact they could be considering Reynolds, who played Jordan in the 2011 film Green Lantern, which is not considered a part of the new DCEU. John, what do you think about the rumored shortlist of actors for Hal Jordan's Green Lantern?
All right. Let me say this up top. I have always considered there are several levels of what I would consider reliability within the news circles, right? There's a top level, there's a next best level, and then down until you get to like Cosmic Book Movie News or whatever down at the bottom. So I have always considered up there at the top would be the big sources: Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, and I have always considered The Wrap to be up there as well. For me personally, I no longer have The Wrap up here as absolute most reliable. I would put them on the next rung down now, that I would put under the category of usually reliable, which is a lot better than a lot of other, online outlets can say. So they're no longer my top tier thing. So I take this thing with a giant grain of salt. And the reason I take it with a giant grain of salt is because they included in there Ryan Reynolds. I don't believe for one fucking second that Ryan Reynolds is being either A...
Michael Rappaport, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry. I do not believe that Ryan Reynolds is either A, being considered, there's no way they would, or B, that he would ever consider going back. He would be like, F you, I've got Deadpool now. There's no way Ryan Reynolds would want to do it, and there's no way that Warner Brothers DC would want him to do it, because all that would do is bring all the stink and all the stench and all the baggage from that first one into this. You're relaunching Green Lantern, who's a great character, and people are going to give it a shot. However, you make it look like and associated with that last Green Lantern movie, which I don't think the last Green Lantern was the worst movie in the world. I thought it failed, but I would have given it like a D, not a F minus. It's a failed movie. I didn't think it was complete utter trash, but it had a lot of complete trash in it. But a lot of people do think it was complete utter trash, and there's no way you want to be associated with that. So there's no chance in hell. So his inclusion on this list makes me question the whole list. Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise is in his 50s? You really want him starting as a new character who isn't supposed to be that old yet? Although, who knows? We do know that there are going to be two Green Lanterns. We got our classic Hal Jordan and we got John Stewart. Maybe Hal Jordan is supposed to be an older Hal Jordan mentoring a John Stewart. In that case, maybe somebody like Tom Cruise in his age range could be there. Joel McHale? Who knows? I don't hate that idea. Bradley Cooper, obviously, is a strong actor. Armie Hammer was going to be Batman at one point for Warner Brothers and DC, so that's not way out there in left field. Jake Gyllenhaal, I'm not sure. Considering what Jake has been doing with his career, I find it odd that maybe he would consider something like this. But look, there are a number of names on here that if they joined, it would be very interesting. Bradley Cooper, Armie Hammer being the ones that top the list for me. I just don't know how much I buy into it because of that inclusion of Ryan Reynolds. Jeremy, am I overthinking that? Is it possible that maybe Ryan Reynolds could be Green Lantern again?
Anything's possible. We're talking. That's why I never go 100%. I always go 99.9 to leave that variance. That's where we are. Is it possible? I guess sure. Anything that can happen will happen in the dimension of space-time. That being said, no, it's not gonna. The guy made a joke about Green Lantern in Deadpool. So at that point, him going back to Green Lantern strange, especially when he has Deadpool. It's like someone took this list of like Bradley Cooper. Hey, that guy's hot off the Hangover. Ryan Reynolds, I heard he's going to be Green Lantern. Tom Cruise, he's easy. Let's put him in there. This is an article from 2008. I feel like someone didn't have an article of gossip that they needed to have today, and they're like, well, all right, we're just going to thumb through. Hey, 2008 has this rumor mill. Let's just throw that on the internet and just rehash it. It's what it looks like. If you look at this whole thing, this thing looks like it's about 7 years old. It's a story that's 7 years old. It's really strange to me. No.
John, I need a lot more than a grain of salt to flavor this rumor stew. I need like a big Himalayan pink salt rock. This is just, I don't believe any of this. Now, what I will say is that when you hear the term shortlist, as movie fans, we get excited like, oh, these are the actors that are currently competing to play Green Lantern. I wonder who the studio is going to select. I would believe that the studio itself has kicked around these names and said, oh, wouldn't that be cool? Hey, guys, what do you think if Ryan Reynolds comes back? And it probably got a big laugh in the room. Wait, what about Tom Cruise? Sure, go for it. This is like a Santa Claus wish list of any studio exec making virtually any movie, so I do not believe that these are the actual actors that care about being Green Lantern. I love the idea of there being two Green Lanterns, like the story that was reported a couple weeks ago, where it almost has the Lethal Weapon vibe. I think that's a nice different spin to put on the Green Lantern, and it helps wash away a lot of the stink that a lot of people have from the Ryan Reynolds version. So whether Hal Jordan is an older version of Green Lantern, and then you have John Stewart be younger. Whatever you want to do with that is fine. I think Tyrese's John Stewart is the most believable of any casting I've heard, and that's because Tyrese himself really wants to play Green Lantern. None of these guys have ever showed any indication that they want to play Green Lantern. The only indication of any of them is that they hated playing Green Lantern, so I cannot believe this.
I almost feel like it was kind of like this. Like the studio guy was just like, hey, this is our short list. Really? Yeah, that's it. It's like, and like you said, it's just like all these names. I agree with Ellis. I think that you put these names out there going, we'd love to have Tom Cruise or Bradley Cooper as Green Lantern. Think you'll get him? Who cares? Give it a shot. Shortlist, sometimes you just put all the big stars on there and see what you can get. Do I think that any of them are going to play Green Lantern? The only one out of all these that I think has potential is Gyllenhaal, and I'll tell you because.
Really? Interesting.
Because it's got to be the right. And who's directing this thing? Do we even have a director yet?
I do not think we have director
That's
yet.
the thing. It's got to be the right director. With you remember, he has circled superhero movies before. I know his career is in a much different position now, but he was going to take over for Tobey Maguire back in Spider-Man 2 back in the day. He has circled these things before, and I think recently he was up in talks for another one. He is a guy that can jump from indie.
Is that a Prince of Persia pun?
There you go. No, it should have been though. But the thing is with him, he could do a movie like this and it wouldn't damage his independence. He could jump right back into it. But it would have to be the right circumstance. So if anybody was going to do it, I could see him doing it. If this is true, it just shows that they're going to have to go, they're going to try to do what they did, even though Robert Downey Jr. wasn't the biggest star at the time. They've got to go. They're going to try to lead with star power to get this thing off the ground because they're still trying to build that DC EU. Now, whether or not it's Wonder Woman is the one to pick it up and Justice League and then continue that on, Green Lantern will come out at a time where they still need to hit with star power. So it would make sense they're going after stars. I just don't think any of this is relevant.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily saying nobody on this list is going to be Green Lantern.
I bet you they're all on the list.
But it's like if you told me in the preseason that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be in the Super Bowl, I'm like, I got to see a lot more evidence of that happening before I'm going to say yes. That's a definite lock.
All right, what's next?
While doing press for his upcoming film Wilson at the Sundance Film Festival, Woody Harrelson was asked if he would be playing Garrus Shrike in the Han Solo movie. Shrike first appeared in the Star Wars Legends novels by A.C. Crispin, called the Paradise Snare, a character that is a bounty hunter turned smuggler who raises an orphan Han Solo. In the Facebook Live video from Variety via /Film, Harrelson hesitated at first before seeming to confirm the fan theory when he was asked point blank about the mentor role and character. Kristian, what do you think about Woody Harrelson possibly playing a Star Wars Legends character in Garrus Shrike?
I think Garrus Shrike is possible. I think that there was also something, remember, if you see that video, it cuts off when he goes yes, but then it leads into something else. He was kind of playing with the interviewer. So don't take it that it was a pure confirmation, because it wasn't. Watch the rest of it or read the rest of it, and you can see he was kind of playing along. But it does make sense. And we have seen that the story group at Lucasfilm hasn't just said, well, if it's been in Legends before, it's never going to appear. Grand Admiral Thrawn, anybody? So there are ways for them to take characters, and they've done it many times so far, taking little pieces, whether it's a ship, whether it's they are putting little pieces back together. When you read what Shrike did in Legends, it could make sense. I don't know the direction that they're going to go with in Han Solo, but if he is going to play the mentor, and you do have this kind of setup from Legends, and you want to pick from it because it was an interesting storyline, Harrelson can play and has made a career to making these types of characters, so it would make sense that they did that. I also think it would be a nice nod to Legends. Don't just do it to do it, but if it fits the narrative, then yeah, I think it's very possible that he could be playing this character.
Jeremy, is he going to be this guy?
Yeah, I mean, whether or not he's going to be, I'm speculating with the rest of the table. I'm speculating with Harloff, although Harloff has a pretty good run of things right there. There's some solid logic. What we heard is that he's supposedly going to play a mentor character. In the old canon, the mentor character was that guy. So it, like you said, with Grand Admiral Thrawn, because I thought all the old canon's done, although Coruscant was from old canon also, and
yes.
then it became canon. So you can take elements of old canon, make it new, take the characters, make them new, and just have them have their new arcs, knowing that the old canon is not actually what they did. So that said, yeah, it would make sense that he would be, if he's going to be Han Solo's mentor, he might as well be the mentor that everyone knew. Don't just wash that guy away and make a new one. That also being said, if Woody Harrelson has the opportunity to mess with someone who's asking a Star Wars question, he would probably take it, especially at this point. I mean, like you said, that's what we Star Wars fans do, and movie fans. We speculate. And so if he can just plant a seed that gets more speculation, that's A, fun, and B, it's good for business for the Star Wars movie that he's supposedly making. So I don't think he's above throwing out nonsense just to see what sticks and where people go with it. But also, I think that him being Gareth Shrike?
Yeah,
Is that his
Shrike.
name? Yeah, Shrike. I feel like that would make sense for him to be that character. So your guess is as good as mine, but I can see it happening.
I also get the feeling there's a possibility here that if one of the reporters had asked him, "Hey, are you going to play Queen Amidala's sister?"
Yes.
He would have thought about it for a second.
Yeah,
gone,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. I think that's a possibility too. And with all this talk of canon, old canon, new canon, all that kind of stuff, the newest, just so you know, the Crash Course, our newest episode of Crash Course went up yesterday, talking all about understanding Star Wars canon and where we're at. You should go and check that out. Anyway, Mark, you heard about this. You buy into what? Do you buy what Woody Harrelson is selling?
John, I have to because I have no more grains of salt left from our previous story. So I have to think this is 100% true. What I will say about Star Wars is that I don't think they're going to be shy about cherry picking the kind of things from Legends that they want to incorporate into their canon going forward. So they don't have to take Gareth Shrike with all of his history and place it in the Han Solo movie. They can say, we like the fact that he was this criminal who kind of plucked Han Solo from the streets and kind of raised him and taught him the ways of being a smuggler, but we want to get rid of that antagonistic route that Gareth Shrike had later in his career when he was actually going up against Han Solo at certain points. So you can take little elements of it. His name might not be Gareth Shrike. I don't think his name is going to be Gareth Shrike. I think it's going to be something else that might incorporate elements of that character's history without saying this is the person that we're taking out of Legends and putting into a Star Wars movie.
That's actually a really good point. It's kind of like Kylo Ren is ultimately Jason Solo from the novels, but he's not Jason Solo. But there are a lot of elements of Jason
That are
Solo that
similar,
are very
yeah.
Kylo Ren, so they could do a route like that. Yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite way with it too. I think because the difference was that J.J. Abrams had his hand in a lot of that too. I think that had they had their way, they probably would have made it Jason Solo because they certainly did it with Thrawn and there's certain other ways they can go. It doesn't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them by making it Shrike. So I think that if it's, I think it's possible. It's very possible.
All right, what's next?
It's Monday, which means it's time for the weekend box office report brought to you by AMC Theaters. M. Night Shyamalan's latest, Split, delivered at the box office, leading this weekend at number 1 with $40.19 million, the fourth largest January opening of all time, just ahead of 2008's Cloverfield. Paramount's XXX, The Return of Xander Cage, took the number 2 spot with a debut of $20 million. At number 3 was Fox's Hidden Figures, which brought in $16.25 million as its domestic cume climbs to $85 million. At number 4 was Sing, which added another $9 million to its domestic total of $249.4 million. Rounding out the top 5 is Lionsgate's La La Land, which brought in $8.35 million as its domestic cume nears $90 million, ahead of tomorrow's Oscar nominations. And in other box office news, Disney and Lucasfilm's Rogue One crossed the $1 billion mark, making Rogue One the 28th film to do so and Disney's fourth 2016 release to cross the milestone. Mark, thoughts on Split's opening weekend box office?
Actually, the only thing that could have made me happier this weekend is if Hidden Figures made $4 more million and knocked XXX down to the number 3 spot, because the more I saw ads for that movie, it just looks so dopey. I didn't see XXX. I don't think I'm ever going to see XXX. I'm glad that a dumb movie like that comes out and does nowhere near the amount of business as Split, even though XXX had a much higher budget. XXX cost $85 million to make, and it made $20 million domestically. I mean, overseas, it did another $50 million, so it's going to recoup its budget and all that good stuff. But to see Split come out and have the great word of mouth, have people buzzing and saying, you need to go see this movie in theaters, don't have this movie spoiled for you, go check it out, and to see audiences respond the way they did, I think is so refreshing. It is awesome to see that Shyamalan, you can say he's back, you can say he's getting back, but to have a movie come out that made 10 times its budget in the opening weekend and to have fans be like, oh, this is what we've been wanting for such a long time, and to see that reflected in the box office is not something we see all the time, because even with Oscar-worthy movies, we all go see it. We're like, oh, you got to go see this movie, and they just don't do well at the box office. To see this have such an impact, I think is really cool in January.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked because while I was telling some people around the office there's no way Split cracks 50 million, really in my head I was thinking no way it cracks 20 million. That's what I thought. And who would have believed if 1 year ago I said to you, hey, a year from now, a brand new M. Night movie is going to come out and a brand new Martin Scorsese film is going to do its expanded release same week. And the M. Night movie is going to make 20 times more money than the Martin Scorsese thing. We had Silence do its big expansion this week. It went up to 1,500 theaters, made $1.1 million.
Yeah.
One of the better films of the year, actually, of 2016, when it had its official counting for awards consideration release. And Split came out. Look, I've said for a long time, the Shamhammer was not a one-hit wonder. I mean, yeah, he did Sixth Sense, but then he did Unbreakable, which a lot of people thought might have been his best. And then he did Signs, which I still think is a really great movie, notwithstanding the final 5 minutes or so.
The final 5 minutes were just fine, John.
Okay, well, there we go. Swing for the fences. So I thought this dude has big talent. His own ego got in his way, led to his total and utter demise. And then we got The Visit. And a lot of people went, that wasn't bad. And, you know, it surprised a lot of people. And now you're getting Split. And a lot of people I know, John Schnepp notwithstanding, are loving Split and loving what they're seeing. So I'm really super impressed. Kristian.
Sorry, I was gonna say if Shyamalan is JTE, then Jason Blum is his Finstock, because Jason Blum has been this guy who has really, I mean, you look what he brought him back, because we love a good comeback story, and this is a comeback story for a lot of different reasons. I have been very critical over Shyamalan. I didn't really love The Visit last time. I thought it was a return to form for sure, because it was better than the other stuff that he put back previously. But this one, I think that for me it's probably one of top 3 of his movies, and I think that it was smart the way that he did this.
So you would put this over Signs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, and I think that what he was able to accomplish, and I also think for the certain things they were able to hold back and not let the public know. I'm sure now, because of the age of the internet, it's all over the place now, so you have to avoid it. I would say go and see it, but it is that buzz, it is the word of mouth. I was talking to Dennis about it beforehand. He had no intention of seeing this movie, and then everyone's buzzing about it, and he's like, you know, I want to go check out what everyone's talking about now, and that's why you see that 40 million right there, because that's exactly why. And the ending is so, and I'm not going to ruin it, don't worry, but the ending is so much to it and so different. Clark Wolf and myself did a whole explanation video of what we thought the ending means, and you have to see the movie, obviously, but that's going to go up a little later today, so if you want to check that out.
Jeremy.
You all did good, my friends. You put me to rest. You put me at ease. And Split came in #1. I couldn't be happier personally. I take my wins where I can. See, Shyamalan back in his heyday built a fan base. People like me who were like, "Oh, I love what you're doing. That's great form." And then it's important for a director to step out of his comfort zone and possibly do other things. Now, when those other things don't work, it's important for a director to come back to his zone that he built his fan base on. When the fans are like, hey, give us that old school stuff, give us that old school stuff, he should go back and do that old school stuff. He listened to the fans. He made a movie that's in the vein of his older work, and it completely works. It gets better the more you think about it. It's one of those movies where it does grow on you like a fungus. You know what I mean? So initially I'm like, oh yeah, I liked it. Now I like it better and better as the days go on. If you haven't seen Split, see Split. Let's bring that thing in #1 next weekend too. Why not?
So here's a question for you guys. And actually, you know what? Let me ask you guys. Just throw some thoughts in the comments. Throw some thoughts in Twitter as well. I want to ask you guys at the table this, and I want to ask you guys this at home. Is the general movie-going audience, maybe not even the general movie-going audience, but a more specific group, are they ready to forgive M. Night for Avatar: The Last Airbender? No. And I mean that seriously, because there are a lot of people out there who love Avatar: The Last Airbender and became unrelinquishing anger and hatred for him because of what he did to that movie. Are people, do you think, once they see Split, The Visit was a kind of a return to form? We're hearing lots of good stuff about Split, and we're seeing some success at the box office. You think people are ready to forgive him for Avatar?
Yes, because we are, again, it is a side of what have you done for me lately.
Right.
I felt when I was sitting in the last whatever this thing, the Airbender, that someone was hitting me in the knee with a spiked bat for 2 hours. It was that bad. It was just painful. It was a bad comedy, and it was horrible. But it has nothing to do with the way I felt when I was watching Split. At the end of it, I was like, okay, you gave me a turd last time, but then you gave me a nice present, and I like my Christmas present this year. So I'm okay with forgiving him. It was one really bad misstep. Just don't do it ever again.
I was just looking at the chat board. It's like,
it's just no.
Hell no.
Well, that's the thing. With hardcore Avatar: The Last Airbender, if you're a hardcore fan of that animation series, you're never going to forgive Shyamalan for that. And that's your right to not do that as a fan. General audiences, I think, will forgive Shyamalan. I think have forgiven Shyamalan to the point now where the next time he has a movie come out, you can put his name on the trailer and it won't get laughs in the theaters. That's what it was doing for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
When they ran trailers for Devil, they were trying to hide the name. And then when the name came out, it just said from the mind of him, because he didn't even direct Devil. It said from the mind of. And we're like, oh my God, that people are laughing in the theater. It's such a sad thing to see that. He also did After Earth. I think general audiences will trust him. I think
hid his name from that.
Yeah, I think they'll trust him more when he doesn't have a budget like what he got for The Last Airbender.
Do you guys think he should stick then? Because obviously his success has been with $40 million budgets and like under. He should stay there, man.
Look, he should be. He should absolutely stay as the Vader to Jason Blum's Palpatine. Like, as long as he accepts Blum having a bit of a leash on him, and he will continue to succeed, I think, and we're going to see some good things happen as a result of it. All right, guys, we've reached that part of the show now for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Ashley's got a few other items in the world of movie news, hopefully the right ones. She's going to run them down. Those are the table are going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Deadline reports that James Cameron is coming back to the franchise he started with The Terminator. The director is godfathering a new incarnation of the film with Deadpool director Tim Miller in early talks to direct. Deadline's report calls the movie a reboot and a conclusion of one of cinema's great science fiction tales. Skydance Pictures' David Ellison, who co-financed Terminator Genesis, is working with top science fiction authors in order to find the movie creatively. Jeremy, buy or sell a new Terminator movie with Tim Miller directing?
I mean, I like me some Tim Miller, I really do. But for me, Terminator ended at the end of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And the fact James Cameron is coming in, they're like, no, don't worry, I got this. I remember when Terminator Genesis was coming out, and I saw this thing in the movie theater. It was a big old feature. And it's James Cameron going, if you love Terminator, you will love this movie. This is, and so you're like, well, what does it mean if James Cameron says, oh, yay to it? I'm going to say the powers behind it are talented people, but just let Terminator go, man. It ended at Terminator 2. We have Terminator 1, Terminator 2, done, because I was on board for Terminator Genesis until I saw it. And so that's what that optimism for Terminator got me. So I'm going to say so.
Don't forget about the Sarah Connor Chronicles. That wasn't a bad little show.
I enjoyed it. Don't forget about Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
No, I'm trying to forget about that one. Mark Ellis, what do you think?
John, at this point, I'm going to have to be an old grumpy pants and sell it, because on its ear, it sounds great. Oh, the guy that did Deadpool is going to be doing a Terminator movie, and James Cameron's going to help usher him along, but there's just been so much crap in the Terminator universe, and yes, a lot of that is based on Jenny Smith, the most recent one. I don't know. You have to come out and say, hey, guys, we're getting rid of all of that BS that we did. We're going to get rid of Jenny Smith. We're going to get rid of Rise of the Machines. We're going to get rid of Salvation, all that crap. This movie is going to pick up either where the first one left off or hopefully where Terminator 2 Judgment Day left off, and we can take it from there, because it is going to be so mind-bogglingly confusing, annoying, and frustrating to have to sort through all these timelines. The timelines with Terminator right now, it's like the back of an old-school TV, and there's just all these wires crossed out, and it looks like a raccoon's nest. You can't see what's happening there anymore, so you got to tell me you're going to figure all that stuff out. And then maybe I'll get excited about James Cameron sitting in a producer's chair and Tim Miller directing. As of right now, I ain't there yet.
I'm selling this too for a couple of reasons. I'm not even sure this is ever going to really happen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think James Cameron gets the rights back to Terminator until 2019. So we're talking like 2020. Also, he has been in the midst for years now of trying to get his new Avatar films going. He's got 3 of them he's trying to do, and taking his damn sweet time. He's also doing Battle Angel with Robert Rodriguez at the same time. So it's all well and good, but when you talk about projects that are that far down the line, I don't even know if James Cameron's going to have any involvement in this whatsoever, because he is so obsessively involved with Avatar, and understandably so. It's just hard to take this one very seriously. It's cool hearing Tim Miller's name attached, but who knows what Tim Miller's going to be doing in 3 or 4 years. So for now, I got to sell.
You know what's funny is I went first, but I do want to touch on this, that when we were talking about forgiving M. Night Shyamalan, I'm like, yeah, forgive him. It's important to forgive him. How about a new Terminator? No. So I guess that's the subjectivity of film. Throwing it to Harloff.
I'll be the positive guy. I'm going to buy it. Yeah, I'm buying it because I think that we talked about this a while ago, and I remember when he gave his endorsement for the last one, I think he knew it was going to not be that great, and he also knew that he was getting the rights back. It was always coming back to he was going to get the rights back, and I do think we're going to get, after Terminator 2, because by 2019, 2020, Arnold's not going to be anywhere near this thing unless they do something like they did for Tarkin or something
Right.
along those lines, which is possible. But for the most part, he's going to have to take it in a different direction. I think that, and we don't know that Avatar is going to be as successful as the first one. I think that James Cameron is also a guy who's run by ego. I think that he's going to want to show that I'm back on board. I know he's not directing it, but he's producing it. I'm back on board. This is what Terminator should look like when I am leading the charge. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to show people at that point are going to be like, oh, another Terminator movie. But Cameron's name is going to bring a lot more validity to it. I don't know about Tim Miller, because you said he could be doing a bunch of different things in 3 or 4 years from now. The director of who, I don't know. But I think James Cameron having the rights back, I think we're going to see that world come back. And I can understand where people are going, who cares? It's dead. They've almost crowed this thing. Like, because The Crow, when it kept going to Blu-ray, and it was awful. No one cares about it anymore. And Terminator is getting there. But I'm willing to give it one more shot with Cameron as a producer and see what his vision is and what that world could look like.
The optimism in his eyes.
I still think he has zero involvement because he is writing, directing, producing everything. 3 Avatar sequels. He will have no time to give to a Terminator thing.
It's the one that
whatsoever.
really made his career, though.
Yeah, but again, writing, directing, and producing all the Avatar films, which overlap with this time frame. I just don't see how he has the time. All right, anyway, what's next?
In a new interview with Digital Spy, Hugh Jackman made some comments about his next turn as Wolverine and James Mangold's Logan, revealing that the movie is set in a different timeline altogether than the previous X-Men movies. Here's what he had to say. When you see the full movie, you'll understand. Not only is it different in terms of timeline and tone, it's a slightly different universe. It's actually a different paradigm, and that will become clear. John, buy or sell Logan set in a different timeline than previous X-Men movies.
As I've said before, within the hollowed halls of Fox Studios, there's a large granite wall, and chiseled in that wall is their X-Men philosophy, which is simply 2 words: continuity, schmontinuity. They don't care, and they never have cared. And for the most part, it's kind of been irrelevant. They have been able to create a very successful franchise with their X-Men, being completely inconsistent with their own continuity from film to film to film. And it don't matter. I don't think any of us expected that the new Logan film would be tightly in tune with the continuity of the films. No. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, that's consistent. Patrick Stewart's Professor X, that's consistent. I'm sure they'll reference Jean and Scott and have some consistencies, but not be chained to that. They're going to have their own thing in total. It's going to be different. I'm not surprised to hear this whatsoever, so I do buy what he's selling.
I buy it too. I mean, if you think the Terminator timeline's confusing, go see an X-Men movie. What's the difference? Well, the X-Men have been making a lot better movies recently than the Terminator franchise has, so we're going to be on board with it. We can be like, oh yeah, Days of Future Past, whatever, First Class, oh, okay, cool. You guys are doing good jobs. Even Apocalypse, it wasn't great towards the ending, but it was still an enjoyable action movie. And I think with Logan, we're going to give that the pass because we want to see this incarnation of Logan. We want to see an older Wolverine. We want to see him and his relationship with Professor X, how that's going to possibly end up for all time's sake. So we're going to give them the benefit to do whatever they need to do in massaging that timeline. And it is not a Swedish massage. It is a deep tissue, full body massage of that timeline. And I'm excited to see it.
Kristian.
I'll slightly buy it. I think I want to see how they're going to do it. Like he said, it'll become clear when you see it. Okay. I mean, that if he tells me I'm going to know right away, okay, that makes sense, then it'll be a big buy. I just don't want it to be, well, wait a minute. They're not even explaining how. Does this fit into Days of Future Past? Does it fit into Apocalypse? Do they not care whatsoever? I do think that they care because they're saying they're going to explain how it's going to happen. I just don't want to be confused going, well, how does this all tie in? If they tell us this is how it ties in, it's a different timeline because of this, then I'll be okay with it. But I haven't seen how they're going to explain that yet, so I'm slightly buying.
Jeremy.
I love how his phrasing on it was singular. It's like, it's a different timeline. I was like, as in timeline, not like timeline? There's like 4 of these things out there right now. Yeah, I mean, I buy it for sure because I think them not following the continuity of the other films just frees them up. It's a personal story about Logan, Professor X, and this little X-23 girl, and Logan saving this girl from these people, and then this girl's gonna, by proxy save him and his soul or whatever. I mean, I just think it's a neat personal story that you don't need continuity. So I think in the end you can look at it and be like, I don't know, maybe it's tied in with this movie, maybe it's tied in with that movie. But I personally don't care if they reveal how. I don't care to see how we got here. All I want to know is that we're here now, so let's deal with that. And in boxing it in can make it its own movie that doesn't have to worry about the other films.
Well, it's like a limited comic book run.
Right,
Really.
exactly,
Yeah.
absolutely, like Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
David Ayer took to Twitter to respond to a fan's praise of Suicide Squad and surprised everyone by opening up about the problems with the film, while also admitting that he should have focused on the Joker as the film's main villain. Here's a bit from the letter he penned. Wish I had a time machine, I'd make Joker the main villain and engineer a more grounded story. I have to take the good and bad and learn from it. I love making movies and I love DC. He finished by saying that there isn't a secret edit of the film with a bunch of Joker scenes hidden in a salt mine somewhere. Kristian, based on Ayer's comments, would you buy or sell the original Suicide Squad with the Joker as the main villain?
I'd buy the Stone Cold Steve Austin cosplay right on that picture. But yeah, I buy it for sure.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I buy it because that was my main thing when I saw it. When we talked about it on the spoiler review, I felt that the Joker should have been the main villain. I think that would have taken a lot of confusion out of it. It would have made it less junky.
Christian, look, I've been hearing you say that, but if they did that, we wouldn't have gotten this.
Exactly.
Where would we be without
Right.
this?
You know where you are?
Right, and I buy the comments because they're honest, and he didn't just do that thing. It was just like, no, I made the movie I wanted to make, so he looked back and said, I know, I wish I could have done this. I wish I heard the concerns. I agree with a lot of them. I wish I could have put the Joker as the main character. I wish I would have made a more grounded story. But then he said, I love making the movies and I love being part of DC. Good for him. I mean, those are the comments you want to hear. You might not love the movie. I certainly didn't love it, or you might love it, whatever, and thought that he shouldn't have changed it. But he's the director of the film. He said exactly what he wanted to say, and he was honest, and he looked at the mistakes, and I think you got to applaud him for it.
Christian. Sorry,
Well,
Jen,
so
what
John,
is
I
that?
think that.
Well, yeah, I think that entire quote is going to be known as Ayer 316 now. I do agree that the Joker should have been the main character. If for nothing else, that's what the trailer said you were going to get. And then, oh, look at that. The Joker is barely in the movie at all. Now, I'm one of the ones, I had fun with Suicide Squad. I really did. I enjoyed it. This nonsense could have stopped. But it would have been an interesting thing to have the Joker as the main villain, then had the Enchantress as part of their crew. Then they take care of the Joker thing. In the next one, then Enchantress flips and goes bad and then does her thing, and then you can have Suicide Squad too. But I think what they wanted to do was build a world where the Joker's more than just one villain. He's out there and he's going to be in a lot of the DC movies, and it backfired on him. But I agree with you. That's awesome on Ayer to be like, yeah, oopsie daisy. I mean, what do you want? Not a lot of directors would do that. They will defend their crappy work until they die. Even Shyamalan's like, Airbender's good, guys. Stop it. So I love the fact that he came out and said that. Good for him.
Trees might kill us, and you should be prepared.
Oh, that is the worst.
Look, I love that. I buy his comments huge. I love that he's saying it, not just because I agree with him, but because you're right. To have a director come forward and say, hey, guys, my bad. I mean, I love it. My favorite part of this movie was the Joker. I loved the Joker in it. Look, it was a very different Joker than Heath Ledger. I wasn't comparing this Joker to the Heath Ledger. It was its own new thing, and I loved it for the 8 minutes of him that they gave it to us. I was loving that toxic, unhealthy, yet desperate codependent relationship between Joker and Harley, and they gave us almost none of that instead of focus on this. So I love his comments. I buy them completely.
I'll buy it because I have to, because I said I really did like the Suicide Squad. I just didn't like the movie they were in as much. And so if you give me a different movie, possibly with the Joker as a villain, I would take that movie and buy a ticket to go see it. I think the Joker just has not aged well on me for whatever reason, and a lot of it is probably all the stuff surrounding the character of the Joker and Jared Leto getting into character and mailing dead animals to people. And it just became so much about that's the main story, which I didn't really care about. I like the idea of Joker as a gangster in this world. That is where I would have preferred to see Suicide Squad go in retrospect, but I agree with you guys. David Ayer, he's just a true blue, honest dude, and even though he probably could right now be throwing the studio under the bus a little bit and saying, look, I didn't get to make the movie I wanted to make, he's actually taking full responsibility for not doing his job as well as he wanted to do, and I think that's awesome to see a guy stand up and say, look, I'll take this one on the chin.
All right, what's next?
According to Deadline, New Line Cinema has set Fantastic Four director Tim Story to direct its new reboot of Shaft. Best known for the original two Fantastic Four movies from 2005 and 2007, Story has recently helmed the comedy hits Think Like a Man and its sequel, plus the two ride-along movies. Samuel L. Jackson played Shaft's nephew in the 2000 reboot, with this new movie said to be a loose sequel that will focus on the son of John Shaft and set in New York City. Mark, buy or sell a new Shaft movie with director Tim Story?
I gotta sell it as of right now, Ashley, just because Tim Story hasn't done enough to show me recently that he should be making a movie like this, because I did not enjoy the movies that have come out. I think the Think Like a Man's are okay, but there's nothing special that leaps out about those to me. And the Ride Along and Ride Along 2, I don't think are funny. Like they should be funnier, and they're simply not. So I can't get excited about a Shaft reboot. I'd love to see one. I just don't know that Tim Story is the right guy yet. I need to see more from this before I can buy it.
I'm gonna sell it because we were talking about earlier about are the audiences ready to forgive M. Night for Avatar? I don't know that I'm ready to forgive Tim for the two Fantastic Four films he did. That being said, I actually liked the first Think Like a Man, and I didn't mind the first Ride Along. The sequels to both of those films are another big question marks. It's going to be interesting. While I'm saying I'm selling, I'm barely selling it, but I'm going to be cheering for him, and hopefully this will be the project that'll help him turn it back around. What do you think?
Kevin Hart as Shaft. I can't wait, guys. But no, I'm with Ellis on this one. I'm selling this because I haven't seen enough. I'm with you on the ride-along movies where it's like, those should have been a lot funnier than they were. They really didn't knock my socks off. All I got from that was that those Shaft timelines are really confusing as to where they're going in the lineage of it. But I did not sell.
I'm going to sell it, but if you told me Tracy Morgan was cast as Shaft, I'd buy it immediately. And I'm not even kidding about that. I think it would be amazing. Tim Story, yeah, Think Like a Man 1 and I didn't like either one of the ride-alongs, but Think Like a Man, the first one was fine. But
Yeah, I like that first one.
it's fine. But his career, I mean, the difference with Shyamalan and him, Shyamalan had a lot more than, I like the first one's okay. He had three big ones that we can actually forgive him because we know that he's got potential for it, if you include Split. The guy, I haven't seen much comedy out of it. I think that Shaft is something that I would like to see a little bit more edgy, and I don't think Tim Story is edgy. So yeah, I don't really care about this particular movie.
If I had to put money on it, I'd say Kevin Hart might be Shaft.
Probably.
Shaft.
Probably.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I will-
absolutely.
I'm
You
telling
know, whenever I hear stories about Shaft, it just really makes me want another Black Dynamite. Damn, I love Black Dynamite so much. All right, guys, well, listen, this show is live, and as such, we like to take your live Twitter questions. So we're going to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take your live Twitter questions. Make sure you're tweeting to us. Make sure you're following us at Collider Video. Send in your questions and your thoughts, and Wendy will pick out a few at the end of the show. But first, we're going to go to our mailbag. Ashley, what's in the mailbag today?
Manny writes, "Hello, Collider crew. I recently read the spoiler/twist in the movie Split. I had no plans to see this movie, so figured why not just read the spoiler, and when I read it, I thought it was pretty cool and interesting. I think if this had been mentioned in the marketing material, it would have made way more in the box office than it probably has so far. It certainly would have driven me more likely to see the film. Without giving away the spoiler, do you agree or disagree that it should have been part of the marketing material? P.S. If Ashley reads my question, it'll make my year. La la la."
Nice.
Well, congratulations on that. She's never read one of mine. So,
She didn't read Riley's this morning.
she did.
I'm sorry, Riley. My fault.
Absolutely not. Okay, look, it's no big, look, at the end of every Shyamalan, including The Visit and everything else, every Shyamalan film has a twist. So it's not any sort of a spoiler or big surprise to know there's a twist. But to actually give the twist away in the marketing, it's like, see Bruce Willis in the new Thriller, where he turns out to be a ghost at the end. Like, you just ruined it.
Right.
Like, you can't do that. So, and look, it did $40 million. It legitimately doubled what I thought it was going to do. So clearly people were intrigued. They heard there's a pretty good twist. They went, you could not give that twist away. Because I think, if anything, would have detracted from a lot of people going to say, well, now that I know what happens, why would I going to go see it? So, no, Kristian?
Oh, I couldn't disagree with that more. I mean, the way that they marketed this thing was perfect because they had enough confidence in what they did at the end to get people buzzing about it. It's the reason, like Mark said, it like 4 or 5 times more what the thing cost to make in the first place. So it also would have taken away from when you're sitting there and you're watching and you go, oh, because it changed my view of the entire film, and movies can't do that normally, to where you're watching something and then because of something that happens you go, wait a minute. Oh, that's why. And I want to go see it again because of it. I think that it would have been a colossal error to say, hey, go see it because if you don't, you'd miss this. That'd be completely silly.
Jeremy?
Yeah, that's what makes Shyamalan an artist, love him or hate him. He's one of those guys who's like, I'm going to make a movie, and the movie's going to come together at the very end. But before that, you can't leave this movie 5 minutes before and say you know everything that I had for you, and that's a rare thing. When you see a trailer and you're like, well, it showed the whole entire movie. We're talking Amazing Spider-Man style. It would have been like that times about 1 billion to show the end of a Shyamalan twist in the trailer. So no, don't do that.
I mean, it would be fun to have every Shyamalan movie that comes out have the trailer just completely ruin the spoiler. Like, what happens when aliens who can't swim take a wrong turn? The Village. A blind girl stumbles around in the woods. Check it out.
Spoiler.
All right. I said we'd take some time to go to some Twitter questions. Do that right now as Wendy's picking some out. I want to remind you, this is not the only show that we do here over at Collider. The newest episode of Jeremy Jahns' Awesome-tacular is up on the Verizon Go 90 network. Make sure you check that out. Also, as I previously mentioned, the new Crash Course on Star Wars canon is now out. And a little bit later today, the brand new episode of TV Talk will drop. Keep your eyes open for that. All right, with all that said, Wendy, what do you got in the Twitter streams
Happening over
today?
there. All right, Thomas Bergstrom writes, Stephen King's It is supposed to open on September 8th. When do you think we will see a teaser trailer for it?
Well, they've been dropping images lately, and usually once they start dropping images, your first teaser stuff like is usually not far away. I'm going to guess before the end of February we're going to see our first teaser. What do you guys think?
I'd say before summertime hits. I'd say sometime in the spring, like a March, April kind of thing, because that's when you're going to get your teaser. Then you're really going to start to ramp up the marketing in July and August for a September release.
Oh, yeah. March, April, I agree.
Yeah, they're going to put it on a horror movie, the likes of which you've never seen before. Horror begets horror, so 50 Shades Darker, look for it.
All right, what's next?
All right, Michael Kennedy writes, do you think that split twist was poorly executed? For people that don't get the twist, the movie doesn't work for them.
Well, we can't really discuss that much without giving what the twist. But
I
in
won't give it
general,
away.
Kristian,
I disagree.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I disagree, but you're right. We can't really talk about it much, but it should. I disagree.
No, I mean, I think that there are, and I know some people who saw it that were confused by it, but I think that you can easily get not confused without giving anything away. There are ways to say, wait a minute, let me go back and think about that. Oh, I'm telling you, it's a very different experience.
I will vehemently disagree because it's not like that's the only like different twist or thing that he throws in. That movie, the way that it wraps up, there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So it's not just one thing that you're relying on to make the audience go, wow, there's a lot of cool stuff in Split. It's not just a movie where just go check out the ending. The entire film plays out really, really well.
Anytime a classy movie gets too classy for me, Google search, my friend. You'll get all your answers.
All right, what's next?
Jordan Salas writes, with Steppenwolf being the main villain in Justice League, when do you think we'll see the Joker again?
It's a good question. And, you know, I'm still not completely sure that Steppenwolf is going to be the main guy. I think he probably will, but I'm starting to have my doubts that there might be other things as well. I don't think we're going to see Joker in Justice League, unfortunately. I don't know that we're going to see Jared Leto back. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying I don't know. So I just don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be in the Batman film if it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, if it happens, it'll be, I think, an Easter egg in the Batman film. I don't even think he's going to be the main villain in there. But yeah, I'm with you. Whether or not we're going to see Leto back, that's a question.
I think you'll get hints of the Joker in the Batman movie for sure, but also David Ayer's work with Margot Robbie on that Gotham City Sirens
true.
movie. So I think that's where the Joker is going to show up next in a full screen kind of way.
All right, let's take two more.
Okay, 94 Tamimi writes, hey guys, my question is, what decides a theatrical run? I.e., BVS run was 12 weeks, but Civil War was 20 plus weeks.
Well, I mean, it's the box
Money.
office, yeah. Do the theaters want to keep having it in the theater? Or do the theaters want to brush it out to bring in new films that will make more money for them at their concession stands? It's completely about how it's doing financially. Because if you're a movie theater and you're going to take up your 500-seat theater and you got a movie in there that in its 16th week and it's bringing in 6 people per screening, or you could bring out 50 Shades Darker, put it in that theater where you know you're going to put about 400 asses in the seats for that one, you're going to brush that one out. So as long as Civil War kept making money, it kept staying in theaters. Same with Batman vs. Superman. But once they lose money, we've seen films have 1 week runs and then get pulled
Gem
2 week
and
runs.
the
Hologram.
Remember the drop that Batman v Superman had second week? You know,
What was it, like 70?
it was something big. So the
Yeah.
theater owners look at that and go, Ooh, I don't know. Well, let's give it its run, and then once the decline happens, it's a business. Remember, they got to look at it like it's like you walk into a store. You have this, you have this. Once that demand for that product goes down, then you don't put it in the store anymore.
Nah, it's all about art.
Oh, okay.
All right, last question of the day.
Okay, Seb Francis writes, now that we have a Star Wars title, what are the chances of a teaser and trailer popping up within a week or two?
No.
No.
It's
No.
funny because with The Force Awakens, the title and the trailer came out right around the same time, pretty synonymous. I think it might have been the same day, if not the same week. But in this one, I think they're going to wait for Celebration. We have this to talk about now, and they know we Star Wars nerds. We're going to talk about this for weeks, if not months, and then we're gonna get a trailer a little longer down the line.
Yeah, I think The Force Awakens title came out like a week or two before the trailer, but I don't think it's going to be that soon here. I don't think they're going to wait for Star Wars Celebration, though. I think you're going to get something
March?
sooner. I think Beauty and the Beast is where they're going to attach. It's not going to be the Super Bowl, sorry, but I think it's going to be in March to coincide with Beauty and the Beast.
It's tricky though because you'll have that's definitely possible that you can get the mini trailer or something very small for Beauty and the Beast, and then they give you kind of like a second teaser, but the fuller trailer, kind of what we got at Celebration 2 years ago. When you get Celebration in April, they're not going to, because of especially what happened last year, it was pretty much a disappointment as far as news goes. They want to go big, and they have all this footage done. So they might show a smaller teaser, like Mark's saying, in March, and then like a bigger teaser, or maybe even like a full trailer in at
But you know, that could happen earlier in March, now that I think about it, because we still, in our, like our brains are so forward-thinking in some ways, but we also think, oh, well, it has to come out the same week as the movie it's attached to. No, you could release that trailer the first week in March, the last weekend in February, and still have it run with all the Beauty and the Beast showings. It's just not going to be the first time any of us have seen it.
I think there is a legit 10% chance that before tomorrow's movie talk starts, we're going to have our first
Campea.
teaser.
Oh, boy.
I think there's a legit 10% chance because this is, the person asking the question brings a great point. There has been this trend in Hollywood that first image release and then bam, first bit of footage hits. I think there's a 10% chance of that. I think there's a 20% chance that it drops sometime between now and Celebration. And I think it's a 70% chance that they're going to drop the first trailer at Celebration.
So you're saying when we do that Oscar thing tomorrow morning, we're going to have to keep the cameras rolling just in case.
Because that
they
new,
trailer-
10% chance.
Okay.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this installment of Movie Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, over there, Mr. Kristian Harloff. Kristian, where can people find you online?
You can find me Twitter and Instagram at Kristian Harloff. Like I mentioned, I have a video with Clark Wolf today about the ending of Split. And if you didn't check out the season premiere of the Movie Trivia Schmodown, it dropped on Friday. You had Team Hero, Superhero News, and JTE, Little Evil, going up against the Beast, William Bibiani.
Mr. Jeremy Jahns.
Mark Ellis just reminded me I have to get up really early tomorrow morning. Thanks for that, man. My hopes and dreams are crushed. But you can find me at Jeremy Jahns on YouTube, Twitter, all the internet verses. You can find me and my new show, Awesome Tacular, on the Verizon Go 90 network. We talk about movies, games, TV. We do some fun stuff. You'll love it. Come on over.
Mark Ellis.
This weekend, I'll be at the Tempe Improv telling jokes Thursday through Sunday. This Wednesday night, the Schmoes Know Live show is back. New day, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. We had a special guest last week. We're going to have another special pop-in this week.
Hey, guys, I want to let you guys know that tomorrow is a big day on the calendar for movie fans. The Oscar nominations are being announced tomorrow at, I believe, 5:30 a.m. Los Angeles time. So, as a result, Movie Talk for tomorrow, and only tomorrow, Movie Talk is going to start live at a special time, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That'll be 10 a.m. East Coast time. Don't worry about if you're not up that early. You can just watch it later. Still be on the channel as normal. But the live show will go live tomorrow at 7 a.m. because we're going to be talking about some Oscar nominations. I want to thank also the people over on yonder table, the slightly out-of-date Ashley Mova, who's now all caught up to speed. Ashley, where can people find
I'm
you
sick.
online?
Give me a break. You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Ashley Mova. Happy Monday, guys.
And, of course, Wendy Lee.
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at Wendy Lee Zaney.
And you guys can follow me on social media simply on Facebook and Twitter at John Campea. That'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And until tomorrow, early, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.